Live from downtown Detroit, it's the No Bullshit News Hour with my main man, Charlie LeDuff and Karen Dumas.
No bullshit!
It's just it, breaking news. No more bullshit. No more bullshit.
Okay, let's just get at it. The last week, what was it? Thursday? It was Thursday. The Samantha Wall murder trial, which I don't know why it's called the Samantha Wall murder trial. The murder trial was that of a car thief named Michael Jackson Balanos. As predicted, the jury came back, exonerated him of premeditated murder, convicted him of lying to police, and it was a hung jury on felony murder and home invasion. So the murder is committed during an underlying felony, which is the home invasion. Hung jury. The prosecution has until Thursday, tomorrow, to refile. And I don't see how they can. They kind of screwed it up. And this is very cool. Brian Brown, hey dude, I've been around the courthouse a lot. I never saw you before. And then when I watched you in the preliminary, way back when, I was like, who is this guy? And welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me here.
I hope you can speak freely. I know it's still pending, but as much as you can.
As much as I can,
Because I really want to get to this. First of all, what bothers me about this is the timeline. What we have, for those of you that don't know much about the case. Samantha Wall was killed Friday night into Saturday morning. So like late Friday night, but it's really Saturday, October 21st of 2023. There are two windows. She has a sensor in her living room, not outside on her door, no cameras, but a sensor. Odd. Never heard that. There are two windows of movement. She comes home at 12:30, the sensor triggers. At 1:24, which is 54 minutes later, there's no more motion. Until 3 hours later, at 4:20, there's motion. And at 4:22, there's no motion. So you have a 2-minute window and a 54-minute window for a woman to be stabbed 8 times. Tussle, things are broken, fruit bowls are turned over, there are bruises on her, could be from the fall, might not be, could be. So what happens is, first, the authorities think it's the Arabs, right? Isn't that right? It becomes international. Jewish leader Samantha Wall is found stabbed to death. I'm getting calls from New York, LA. Is it Hamas? A couple days later, it's not Hamas. Then we get her ex-boyfriend calling police. Was it 3 weeks later?
Roughly around there, yes.
Yeah, about 3 weeks. Saying he did it. I had the opportunity. I had the motive. I don't remember anything.
Mm-hmm. True, yes.
Okay.
November the 8th.
Somehow, they let him go, and they need another.
Pull your mic a
They need another suspect. They go to the videotape. They find a murky character around 4 a.m. trying to get into cars. Your client, Michael Jackson Balanos. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. They trace him all night long. 5 hours, except for the half hour, the 4:20 to 4:22. They got nothing. Okay. The timeline bothers me. Let's go like this. It's 4:20 to 4:22, okay? How does this sensor work? Should we play that? This is the security firm expert, ADT, testifying. You're questioning him.
You would agree that on 420, the system is indicating that it's depicting some type of motion, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then at 422, it's indicating that it is idle mode, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, and you also indicated that it's at least 2 minutes in order for the system to not detect motion in order for it to go to idle mode, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so based upon your reading of that 420, would you agree that the motion it detected was a very brief amount of time in order for it to go to idle mode within 2 minutes?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So explain that. I heard dueling shit here, which is at 420, it registers movement. And then the family's telling me that then it goes dark and then wakes up again 2 minutes later to see if there's motion. He seems to be testifying once motion triggers, it keeps rolling until it doesn't see motion for 2 minutes.
Yes, that's my understanding. My understanding is once the system detects motion, say at 420, and then there's a lapse of that motion for a predetermined time, 2 minutes, then the system would then go into idle mode. However, he was somewhat kind of contradictory even in his own testimony, because at one point in time he indicated that there's a motion and then the system goes into sleep mode, which I never heard of that myself. The system goes into sleep mode to preserve the battery. And then the system wakes up within 2 minutes to detect motion. If there's no motion that's detected at that particular time, then the system goes into idle mode. So it was kind of a contradiction, because I pointedly asked them the motion at 420, would that suggest that it was a brief amount of motion if it went into idle mode at 422? And then he answered yes. So then another question was asked, I guess, by a juror, whether or not there could be motion and the system is in sleep mode and it's just not detecting that. And I think he might have tried to imply that there could, but I'm not 100% sure if this guy knows exactly what he was talking about as far as the system going into sleep mode or idle mode, because it just doesn't make any sense to me, because she came in at around 12:30 and then there was constant motion from that particular time until 1:24. There was no indication that the system went into idle mode, to sleep mode, or anything like that, especially if she went upstairs to change her clothes or anything like that. The system should have possibly went into idle mode if there was a lack of motion at that particular time. So it seems like there was a continuous stream of motion during that time, which suggests that if there is no motion for a predetermined time, 2 minutes, then only then would it go into idle mode.
See, it's weird. So it's like it triggers, and then he just testified it'll roll till there's no motion. So the point is the timeline. If you came in and you left and it takes 2 minutes to reset, that leaves like 0 seconds to commit a murder. Absolutely. Now, the second thing was, the reason I asked, 420, the sensor goes off.
Yes.
At 4:23 and 47 seconds, he's walking up to the Greektown garage. Yes. So that window is 3 minutes and 47 seconds.
Correct.
But you look at the video that the cops put the circle around him, he's coming up the service drive and he walks over the bridge, right? On Monroe Street.
Yes, he walks.
So that's another 30 seconds. Yes. So now we're getting down to like a minute and 17, right? Because I ran the distance from her front door to the route he took to the time he comes in the camera. Took me 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Google Maps shows you it's over a third of a mile.
Correct.
A cop testifies it's a quarter of a mile and he ran it in a minute. So here's what I'm thinking. What's the difference between a third of a mile and a quarter mile? It's a football field and a half. That's a lot of distance. If the cop said he ran a quarter mile in a minute, he's a 4-minute miler?
Yeah,
the guy's a 4-minute miler.
He's an extraordinary athlete, yes.
That's an Olympian.
Yeah.
No human ran a 4-minute mile until 1957. Mark, trivia?
Roger Bannister.
There you go. Yeah. Since then, here's what I would have done. 1,721 human beings have clocked a 4-minute mile. I would have entered as People's Exhibit 101, Your Honor. This is the list of the 1,721 people that ran a 4-minute mile. Officer, do you see your name on this? Okay, so it's really a third of a mile. So this cop's running a 3-minute mile. That's a world record. Usain Bolt, everybody knows fastest man in the world. His fastest quarter mile was 46 seconds. Time was absolutely of the essence in this case, and you're the only one that bothered with it. A woman's dead, and a man's fighting for his life, and this case was sloppy. What's your estimation?
Very sloppy. It was not a thorough investigation from the onset. They talked to some individuals, but they didn't thoroughly vet them, especially when it comes to the ex-boyfriend. You have the ex-boyfriend who's calling police, indicating that he killed Samantha Wall. He's then arrested by Kalamazoo police. The detectives from down here, they drive up there, and he asks to speak to his parents. So they give him a phone call to his parents. His parents tell him not to say anything, and he's saying, "Oh, call that lawyer that you got for me." He doesn't even know the lawyer's name. They then just
and they got him a lawyer beforehand.
They got him a lawyer beforehand. They never asked him why he was there. You know, what are they accusing you of? It's like they already knew. So my estimation is that previously he already spoke to his parents about that, and they got him a lawyer. They probably told him not to say anything. He's, you know, for whatever reason.
Was it a criminal defense attorney?
Yes, a criminal defense attorney. Okay. He was, you know, guilt-stricken in my opinion, and smoked some marijuana, got probably paranoid, started rethinking the incident in his mind, and just couldn't control himself, and you just end up calling the police. And then they never subsequently even interrogated him after that. He didn't really even invoke his right to counsel. He's like, "Oh, let me call my parents. Can you call that lawyer?" So he never really invoked his right to counsel with the police. Like, "Oh, I want a lawyer. I'm not answering any questions." They just treated him like he was just, you know, royalty, as far as not interrogating him, treating him with the utmost respect. Now, I'm not advocating like they should have just cussed him out and called him names like they did my client, but at least be consistent, you know, across the board as the way you treat suspects, especially if somebody is indicating that they committed the crime and they had motive and they had opportunity and they're trying to outsmart the police. So it just seems like there's a very unthorough investigation, and basically the only reason why they ruled him out is because his phone is not there. But this is 2023. Who doesn't know the phone is going to track you? Everybody knows if you're going to commit a murder to leave your phone at home.
You're saying this Jeffrey Herbsman, the ex-boyfriend, who has a PhD in data from the University of Michigan, you don't have to be a doctor of data to know to leave your phone home?
Exactly.
So he ended up getting immunity. I mean, have you ever, in your legal career or awareness, heard of anything like that?
For those that don't know, he does testify, the boyfriend, at trial with immunity that can't be used against him.
Yeah, he has use immunity, which is different than transactional immunity. Use immunity is basically anything he says on the stand cannot be used against him in any subsequent prosecution. Transactional immunity would be, we cannot charge you, period. Now, in my experience, I've never, ever seen or heard of a individual who admitted to doing the crime later, especially a murder, later getting immunity and be allowed to testify at a trial for an individual who did not do it. So it's just across the board, it's just, you know, perplexing to my mind.
I talked to a former prosecutor, put 125 murderers away, right? He said he never fucking heard of immunity, period. And he said there's no fucking way he never would have charged him. Like, he would have charged him because there's an admission.
Yes.
You admitted it. So you're under arrest, you're getting cuffed, you're being arraigned, then we'll release you to your lawyer.
Yeah.
Right? He said this was sloppy work. But let's go back a minute now. So first of all, he says, the reason I did that is because I took medication, double dose, lost my mind. As a reporter, I don't remember, what medication was it? Was it ever said?
He did say it. I have it written down. I can't remember off the top of my head. I did look, for the side effects of that, and spoke to a couple of physicians, and they've never, heard something like that happening, where somebody would just basically create a scenario that never happened and convince themselves that in fact they did that.
So why don't you call me and go in your notes, tell me what it is. I'm going to go get a couple of those pills, take those, smoke a big blunt, have a few cocktails, and see if I start dialing the feds admitting to disappearing Hoffa.
Hey,
Never heard of it.
never.
Never.
Do you know what classification of drug it was? Was it antipsychotic? Was it antidepressant?
I believe it was a anti-depressant, but don't quote me on that. I have it written down here. Don't quote me on that as of right now.
Okay, now here's the work you did, which is you're not a public defender.
No.
You were paid.
Yes.
When you pay, this is the kind of lawyering you get. There are two windows here, the 420 to 422 plus another minute and 37 seconds to run a third of a mile. And the first window is 12:30 to 1:24. You go through the video. There's only one video camera for some reason on a school about 50 yards away. At 1:24, when the thing goes into idle, you see a character going by.
Yes.
Okay. And for those of you not watching, on the left, looks to be a white dude to me. He's running.
Yes.
He's got dark glasses. He's got a George Michael haircut and a black jacket.
Yes.
The police do not track this figure through the night like they did your client.
Not at all.
They didn't. Did they know about this?
They knew about this, but they don't know where he went. He ran towards the Lafayette Towers. I asked Sergeant Sullivan whether or not video was extracted from either the DeQuinder Cut or the Lafayette Towers. He then indicated that that responsibility was Sergeant Ford's. Then when Sergeant Ford got on the stand, I asked him, did you extract any video from the Lafayette Towers and or DeQuinder Cut? He said no. I said, well, if Sergeant Sullivan testified that that was your responsibility to extract that video, would he be lying? He was like, oh, he must be confused. So it's basically a lot of finger pointing of who was supposed to extract this particular video. And at the end of the day, nobody extracted the video, at least turned it over to myself.
So on your client, and there are racial undertones and there are class undertones.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously. Your client, they Jesse Smollett him. They follow him for 5 hours.
Yes.
Right? Track his jacket. Now, there was blood on your client's jacket, right? I mean, he's a good suspect. You got to admit that.
A couple drops.
Right? Couple drops. They got his phone. They got him. He admits it. He's got a blood. He's a good suspect.
He admits to being in the area.
He admits to touching her.
Yes, he admitted to touching her. To one officer, he denied it at first just because of the implications in the accusations that Sergeant Ford was saying. Like, he originally said, like, we got you going past the threshold. Before he even asked them about anybody, like, oh, we got you going inside the threshold of her apartment. And my client was like, her who? So he kept trying to imply that my client went inside of her apartment. So naturally, he's on the defensive. And in the back of his mind, he knows that this was a dead lady on the sidewalk. So he's not knowing that if Sergeant Ford is going to say, hey, you went in there and raped this lady, then killed her. He doesn't know what happened. Just shot this lady. He doesn't know what happened to her, but all he knows, he's being accused at that point in time in the police station of going inside somebody's house, and that somebody is laying dead on the sidewalk. So naturally, he wants to, be on the defensive about that.
How would that motion detector get triggered if your client didn't go in there, look around, go, holy shit, this is a murder scene, and run out in 1 second?
I believe
a raccoon, a bat, night owl.
I think the evidence suggests that was her getting up, going
3
outside.
hours later?
Yes.
With stab wounds to the head and only the head?
We've had testimony from multiple individuals who indicated that she could have persisted for multiple hours. She could have been stabbed.
I don't know I don't believe that, but it's not your job to prove.
Well, it's not my job to prove it, but stranger things have happened. Like, it's been in a history of life, in the history of this universe, I'm sure situations like that have existed where somebody have been stabbed, lost consciousness, and then they got that last breath of life, that they woke up, regained consciousness, fought for their life, and tried to,
There's a lawyer right there, because when your client said he touched her, he said she was cold. It's hard to imagine she went cold.
But wasn't she outside at that time?
So he said he saw her. So right about the time he comes around, apparently, according to this theory, she got up collapsed. Then he saw her, and she got cold in like a minute.
And he was like, the body was kind of crusty. The blood was kind of crusty on where he touched the body at, and it was cold outside. So where he touched the body at, it was kind of crusty, I guess, around her neck, where some blood did transfer from her neck to his hand.
All I know is if he admitted going in there, he's getting 25.
Yeah, but he never went in there. I mean,
good lawyer. Now let's go back to 124.
Yes.
With the George Michael looking dude. You entered this. Can we play his closing remarks to the dude? This got to be my ringtone. Listen to Brian Brown, murder attorney.
Why would this person be running from the scene around the time that there is no more motion inside of her apartment? Now, this individual appears to be wearing glasses. Looks like he has somewhat of a distinct haircut. What's that in his hand? Could it be a knife? We know Sergeant Sullivan stated that they did a geofence. It's where they look at all the cell phones in this particular area. They couldn't find a cell phone for this individual, which to suggest that this person didn't have a cell phone. Now, the prosecutor indicated that they had all the video from all this area. Where's the video of this person running to? Where does he run to? If you got all this video of the area, why don't you have this person where they ran to? Could this person be somebody who's testified? I don't know. Could be. Could it be Hersman? I don't know. It looks very similar to me. It looks very similar to me. This person running from the scene looks very similar to Jeff Hersman. Haircut, glasses, even the coat he's wearing looks very similar. Very similar indeed.
Very similar indeed, and it does. And it does, and that's called reasonable doubt.
I believe so.
And Herbsman is a good suspect, your client, considering, the circumstantial evidence. And when you're asked as a juror to make a decision, it's got to be beyond the reasonable doubt.
Yeah.
And so I know the family's hurting, and they came to me, they listened to the podcast, and I'm sure they're listening. And they said that.
Which family, Charlie?
Samantha Wall's family.
Okay, I just want to make it clear.
And I feel for them because I
do too.
I too have lost.
Because they weren't even receiving justice just by them charging my client. They charged the wrong individual just because the police didn't do a thorough investigation. Now, one may say, my client is a good, suspect because he had blood on him. But I believe if they would have looked deeper into the facts of the case, investigated Hersman more, looked at the blood patterns, looked at the blood-soaked hallway, I think they would have came to the conclusion that this could not have happened in the time frame that they said it happened, even their own witness.
I physically running it, having watched you, and I just caught the bug. I talked to one of the greatest homicide detectives I know, one of the best all-time in Detroit. He said stabbing is the most violent form of murder. Yes. It's the most time-consuming, and it's gory. 30 seconds, you're walking by a bunch of picketers late at night, no blood on you that anybody can see.
And I was going to say that she was stabbed, 8 times in the neck and the face, and I didn't see a report, but that's a lot of blood. You've got veins, you've got artery, you've got a lot of blood. And while he washed the jacket, there was evidence of his girlfriend washed the jacket, that there was evidence of maybe 2 drops of blood. There's no way. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Absolutely. And stabbing is a crime of passion.
Yes.
It is a crime. It's a very personal attack.
In the head.
Yes. Especially 8 times she got stabbed, twice under the neck, 3 times in the back of on the side of the neck, twice in the top of the head, and 1 time in the back. So that would suggest that she had to be either down on her knees or something, and somebody was coming over her, stabbing her in the back of the head and in the back of the neck. Yes.
So you're saying it's not your client, the cat burglar, who goes in to take a purse, sees Samantha Wall and goes, "Holy shit, a white woman!"
Oh, he didn't go in there. My client didn't go in there to take anything because
Well,
had
that's-
he,
And none of
That's the case they are.
Yes.
none of her items was taken.
No, they
it
were-
wasn't
and they
a
were all in
robbery.
plain view.
So it wasn't a robbery.
yes.
Let me go back now to the family. They say this George Michael figure on the left, you juxtaposed it with the picture of Herbsman. And one of the family members said, you made that up. That's not real. That was never offered in. Hey, a family wants their justice, and I understand it because my sister didn't get any.
Right.
Right? So the one on the right, is that Herbsman?
That is Herbsman.
How do we know that's Herbsman?
Because that came from his interview at Kalamazoo. I played some clips during my cross-examination of Herbsman during the time when he was in Kalamazoo. He's wearing that coat, wearing those glasses, so that is Herbsman. That's 100% sure. Like
On the right.
On the right. And then on the left, all we did, me and my co-counsel, all we did was slowed it down. This is a video that they provided from Chrysler Elementary School of this individual running. We just kept going back, freezing it free to the right frame, and we paused it and then zoomed in. We didn't do any on a computer, on a Windows computer. We didn't have any special technology or anything. All we did was screenshot it and zoom in. Same thing with Mr. Hersman on the right. So to suggest that we made this up or doctored it, I mean, that's just a false statement.
The police and prosecutors never brought this up until you brought it up?
They never brought it. And like, if we had the ability to zoom in like this, and you as the police who have much more sophisticated software and hardware have the ability to do just that, to zoom in, to freeze frame this particular clip, and then compare it with Hersman. It's like, why didn't you do that? Why do I have to do that? Like, tell me you've done it before. And I believe if they done that, then we might not be having this conversation because.
But was it your client just happened to be one of convenience?
Yes.
Here's a person that's a petty thief, and he was in the area. He touched the body,
Yes.
walked away.
It's important to say, I know this, I don't know if you do. Once the boyfriend was let go, they went back to the drawing board. Take a look at the video again. So we got, she's very prominent, right? Very prominent leader, friends with the attorney general, friends with the congresswoman who's running for Senate. Like, there was a lot of pressure. It was coming from all over the country.
A lot of public attention
And,
to it.
and this one wasn't baked enough.
No.
It just wasn't baked enough. And I'm not a soothsayer. I can't see what happened. I'm not, there's a couple of suspects here, but there's reasonable doubt. And I think the prosecutors fucked up. They shouldn't have brought it this fast. They should have waited. They didn't even look at the time frame, right?
That's public pressure, though, Charlie. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
that's
like-
what say. You had to do
One more
something.
piece of evidence, though. Yeah. Okay. There's something about the app. So the motion sensor goes off at 124, and an app goes on at 129. Is that right? Something about Netflix?
No, they try to suggest that Netflix was on like after about 129 somewhere around that time, but then it closed down. So and there was a lot of different apps that were well, not a lot of different. It was a couple apps. One was a short message or text message app opened up at a particular time around that frame, but there was no incoming text at that time and there was no outgoing text at that time. So why would her text message app open up? There was also her camera came on and her camera never ended that application. So her camera came on around that time and her camera never went off. So my suggestion was that she may have been, fumbling with the phone because there was blood. There was blood on the phone, in my opinion.
Did they ever test
They
the phone?
never tested the phone for blood, and you can see that there was blood splatter. And the phone was underneath the couch. And then the prosecutor finally conceded, like, there may be dropped of blood on there. So how did the phone get underneath the couch then? if she...
It's reasonable to think, like,
That's-
I'm struggling for my life and I'm fumbling for a phone. And
Yes.
I'm just, I'll be just outside and my phone goes dark because the battery's low and I'm fumbling to find the brightness and I'm turning apps on.
Yeah, and if her fingers are saturated with liquid, just like anybody would know who's used a cell phone, if you got water on your hands and everything like that, it's hard for you to manipulate your phone. You may hit an app on your phone or hit something and your phone doesn't respond. It may open up something else. Even if you have a drop of blood or drop of water on your phone, it may just start
But two things. Was her phone locked? If it was an iPhone, it's automatically locked. But two, you don't need to put in a code for an emergency call. On the bottom left, it's just one punch.
Yeah, but again, just because we don't know any of this.
Right.
It's you're fumbling with a phone. Whether you unlock it or you can unlock.
Right.
Again, it's just I don't know. They didn't test the phone. They never took her fingerprints.
Never.
They never calibrated the reset on the sensor. Everything is about seconds here. They didn't do it. And so now, tomorrow, Thursday, the prosecution has to file for retry?
They have to decide whether or not, they're going to retry him again.
That's an in-court appearance?
Yes.
So what do you suspect and how are you countering this? I'm assuming you are.
I filed a motion already to preclude the charges from being brought back up because, in my opinion, not just my opinion, case law states that they've already been litigated the fact that he was acquitted of first-degree premeditated murder, and under first-degree premeditated murder on the verdict form, there is a lesser included charge of second-degree murder. That second-degree murder is also a lesser included charge under first-degree felony murder. So when the judge instructs them before the deliberation, she says, okay, for count 2, you must decide whether or not the defendant is guilty of first-degree premeditated murder. After you've decided whether or not he's guilty or not guilty, if you feel like he's not guilty, then you can then move on to the lesser included second-degree murder, and you can either find him guilty of that or acquit him on that, or you can come back with a not guilty. So they had 3 different options: guilty of first-degree premeditated murder, guilty of second-degree murder, or not guilty of both of them. And then they chose not guilty of second-degree murder. So
you're saying premeditated murder, if just considering only that charge, if you can't get to premeditated, I want you to move to second-degree felony murder.
No, move to just second-degree murder.
Okay.
And then if you decide on that, you can, either say guilty of that, or if he's not guilty
so
of
they
either
went,
one.
You're saying they went through the whole list and exonerated
Yes,
him.
they went through the whole list and exonerated him on count 2. Now, count 1 is separate. So he was charged with 4 different counts. Count 1 was first-degree felony murder. A lesser included charge of that is second-degree murder, and then they can find him not guilty. But they hung on that. But when they acquitted him of first-degree premeditated murder and second-degree murder under count 2, they answered the question.
That negates
the felony murder because they found, as far as their verdict, that he is not guilty of murder. So, and it was an on-point case that I cited in my brief that basically was almost the same situation where the individual was acquitted of first-degree premeditated murder, also acquitted of second-degree murder, which was a lesser included charge for that particular count, but they hung on felony murder. Then they tried to retry the case, and in that case, it was the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. They conceded that they could not retry him under felony murder because the jury ruled that this individual was not guilty of their death.
In your estimation, that leaves nothing here.
That leaves nothing. Yes, even with the home invasion, also because in that particular case they tried to bring up a torture charge, but in this particular case. Case law basically says you have to look at not just the elements of the crime, but you have to look at the facts and what was testified in the arguments that was presented at trial. Their argument at trial was that Mr. Jackson-Bolanos went inside to commit while committing a home invasion, committed a murder. So it was basically a package deal.
Right.
He didn't argue that, he committed this homicide outside of her home or he just went into the house and saw her, the door was open. So He basically said it was a package deal. So then they would be issue precluded because under collateral estoppel, they would be issue precluded because that particular issue was adjudicated at the particular trial. So therefore, in my opinion, they wouldn't be able to try him again under felony murder
I just let
or
him
home
go.
invasion.
The guy knows his business. It sounded like you knew
So what kind of time is he looking at, if any, for lying to the police? I think he was found guilty of that.
That's a misdemeanor. High court
Okay, so
misdemeanor.
that's
he should be time served and just.
So is he still detained at this point?
Yes,
he is. Okay.
Yeah, so he's been detained since December. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Brian Brown. What's the name of your law firm?
B Legal PLLC.
So I have to ask this question because you have garnered a lot of justifiable attention and accolades for this trial.
Let's remember somebody's dead.
I understand. We're not talking about that. We're talking about his legal acumen.
Yes.
This isn't anything about the circumstances surrounding that. From my personal opinion, I just want to ask one question. Are you from Detroit?
Yes.
Which side?
West Side.
Okay, so you answered the question correctly, sir. You are dismissed.
All right, thank you.
Says Carol who lives on the east side.
I do live on the east side, but I ask people.
You said you got to get your lawyers from the west side?
No, well, this one, yeah. I mean,
I've lived on the east side before.
But no,
I got family on the east side.
I have a thing about when you ask people, "Oh, I'm from Detroit," and you ask them one question, which side, and it's either east or west. So when people start saying, "Oh, well, I'm from Farmington," I'm from, boom, it's one or two.
yeah.
So for me, you win.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, well, hey, thanks for being here and interesting work, dude. Very interesting. And again, like, my heart goes out to the family. I know what it feels like, but
Our condolences.
it's got to be 100 to put a guy away.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice work. Okay, and we'll be back with United States Democratic. Hold on,
still on camera.
You're in the shot.
He's got stuff to do.
He's like politicians. Fuck it, I'm out of here. Hill Harper running for the Democratic nomination for United States Senator. Right after this.
I'm Grace Karros, and I'm third generation of American Coney Island. People say Detroit's a comeback city. I say, where you been? We've been here for over 100 years. My family's been here on the same corner, serving our famous proprietary American Coney Island hot dog. So like always, we're keeping things fresh, updated, and new. We'd love to have you come downtown and visit us, but if you can't, you can always go to AmericanConeyIsland.com, order a Coney kit, get it delivered fresh right to your door.
Well, you know, when it rains, the power goes out. And when the power goes out, the internet goes out. When the internet goes out, I call my friend Matt and Bernie at XG Service Group. Look at Bernie here on his hands and knees, giving it everything he's got. Look at that man crack. So busy, he forgot to wear a belt. There's Matt right there getting the board together. That's 734-245-4100 if you need Matt and Bernie to come take care of your voice over internet, your security cameras, off-campus access control, Wi-Fi, and cameras for homes and business. They'll design it for you. You got restaurants, they do drive-through systems, railroad cameras for public safety, total wireless camera systems for your home and business. Yeah, that's right. Call XG Services at 734-245-4100. Well, we all know the politicians lie to you. The media lies to you. How do you know if your investment statements are lying to you? Remember, you're not managing your wealth. That's some unseen guy working for a big bank, jockeying some unknown algorithm, but he's not making decisions based on what's best for you. He's making decisions on what's best for his bonus. Gambling with your hard-earned dollars. You should know your money man. That's why I work with financial specialist Luke Nowacki at Pinnacle Wealth Strategies. He'll tailor a financial plan specifically for you, from annuities to retirement accounts to college savings. He'll keep you up to date and always a phone call away. Let Luke Nowacki worry so you don't have to. Luke Nowacki, 248-663-4748. Speaking of politicians, got Hill Harper here. He's running for the Democratic nomination for the United States Senate in the great state of Michigan. Hill, who manages your money?
Man, not Luke Nowacki, but I think I should call Luke Nowacki.
At what number is that?
At 248-663-4748. I'm gonna need some help because politics is expensive, and I walked away from a really good job to run for office. So
did you leave TV?
I left my job. I was on a show called The Good Doctor, and I left the show to do this.
You beautiful, stupid man.
Yeah,
you had no idea.
That's what my mother tells me.
Let me give you a little background. Hill has a law degree from Harvard, a master's degree in public administration from the Kennedy School of Politics. Is that right?
John F. K. School of Government.
School of Government, yeah. Also Harvard. Started for many years on CSI New York. As you heard, he quit The Good Doctor on ABC, which I've never seen. Discerned. Nobody's watching regular TV. Okay.
It did well.
Huh?
It did well.
It's the number one. Until he left, it was the number one show on ABC.
It was a very good show. It had a beautiful heart, right? It was about a young surgeon with autism. So the theme that everybody has a voice. It had a good soul, good spirit.
All right, look now, man. You're You were also People Magazine's 2-time winner of the sexiest person alive.
Yeah, 2004, 2014. So that's a 10-year cycle. I'm expecting it again in 2024.
Which brings me to the United States Senate race, the Democratic primary being August 6th.
Charlie.
You're the 2-time sexiest person alive. Your opponent, Elissa Slotkin, not the sexiest person alive, which is why this stinking debate on a what's the radio station?
WHPR.
WHPR, which
out of Highland
probably reaches to 8 Mile,
Maybe.
right? That's going to be the one and only debate between you and Slotkin. It's going to be on the radio.
It's a farce. It's a farce, Charlie. I mean, here's the deal. We all signed up. This is every candidate before 2024, I believe, signed up for a whole debate schedule. Everybody agreed to it, that there would be multiple debates across the state, all the Senate candidates. And the first one was supposed to be Mackinac it was going to be televised across the state on PBS. All the political journalists were there, and she pulls out. And she was actually there. It wasn't like, oh, I'm not even going to be there. I had to vote. I had to have a congressional vote. She was on the island at the same time I was. And she pulled out of that. Then she pulled out a Wood TV8 debate, which is Grand Rapids, which was supposed to be the next week. She didn't go to Washtenaw County Candidates Forum, Redford Township Candidates Forum, the AK Sorority Candidates Forum. I can go on. I mean, it's amazing to me, the idea of disenfranchising voters from information about who you are, what you're doing, and you're asking for their vote. And are we going to reward that type of behavior? If she's doing that now when she's asking for a vote, how's she going to treat people if she ends up in the U.S. Senate for 6 years? It's crazy.
But, the bigger issue is when she pulled out of the debate at Mackinac, there was no reason for the chamber to cancel the debate. I mean, that was disrespectful to the other candidates. So I don't think that should go unnoticed as well.
Karen, you're absolutely right. So the idea of people being complicit in allowing outrageously bad behavior by politicians, the media's complicit in it. They should be raking her over the coals on a daily basis. The Detroit Regional Chamber should have kept the debate on and let there be an empty podium.
Yep.
So every time that comes up, and if people want to know, it's say, well, how come you didn't co-sponsor the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act? Oh, we can't find out because it's empty. How come you didn't co-sponsor Medicare for All in the 117th, 118th Congress? Oh, we can't find it. How come you didn't co-sponsor Cannabis and Expungement Act when the people of Michigan had already voted on cannabis legalization? Oh, we can't get that answer because you're not here. And so it should have happened. You're absolutely right. And I bet you since she was there, she probably would have actually debated because why would she let there be an empty podium? But since the Detroit Regional Chamber kowtowed to that and was complicit in it, they are complicit in it as well.
No, this is a machine cannon. This is what the Democrats are doing. You're a Democrat, progressive guy. Everybody comes on here except the machine, the Democrat machine, right? Okay, so rapid fire. You grew up in Iowa?
Yes.
What do you got to do with Michigan?
So 8 years ago, I moved here. I raised my son here, and so
you did.
My
I didn't know you were here.
Oh yeah.
You said hello.
But I still want to know why. That's because I hear a lot of people say that. But
so
yeah.
you moved
Okay,
here.
go ahead.
But we have to even go back further.
got you.
You got to remember.
Is the kid's mother
when
from
I
here?
was no, I adopted him. So okay. When I was at Harvard Law School, both of my roommates were from here. One guy, Brian Mathis, he was actually dating a woman named Carla Diggs from the legendary Diggs family, Congressman Diggs, Judge Diggs. So I met all these Detroiters because of Carla and Brian. And then my other roommate is Charles Boyd, who has the most successful plastic surgery practice here. Now, I joke with him saying, you have a degree from Harvard Medical School, and all you do is shoot people up with Botox. That's a whole different conversation. But the point is, they were like, man, you just got to move here. And I had so many friends. And I truly believe, and I say this without joking around because we can joke around, but the best people in the world live here. There's a unique mix.
So you were based out of here. This was your address.
So back then I was not. No, when I was at Harvard Law School,
8 years ago. 8 years
and
ago.
then 8 years ago, I bought my place here. I bought my business around the corner from where we are right now, and I based out of here. But I would go work wherever I needed to go work. And so the Good Doctor shot in Vancouver, Canada. So I'd commute there to shoot, but just come back.
Where you registered to vote?
Here.
What's your zip code?
48202.
See, Slotkin can't do that because she moved back in 17.
That's right.
Spent,
I've lived here longer than she has.
and she keeps moving.
And she
Okay, so we got that answer. 2, abortion's going to be a big deal, especially on the left. We went through that here in Michigan already, right? There's supposed to be, it's murky, but there's supposed to be a viability limit, but there's ways around it in the wording. However, we were promised, we reasonable Midwestern people, that parental rights would not be subsumed in this, that they would, have parental notification. Even France requires an adult to go with somebody under 18. Where do you stand on that? Because they're making moves now to get rid of parental notification. Where do you stand?
Yeah, as a parent myself, I do believe until a child is an adult or considered an adult, that parents have to have and should have a role in the child's life and helping make decisions that impact potentially the rest of the child's life, right? So I stand on the side of parental notification. My father's a psychiatrist, and he and I actually talked about this before he passed away. Not this issue specifically, but the idea of when is it appropriate for other people to know about what's going on in somebody's life. And so when you think about health and safety of other people, like if someone's basically telling a psychiatrist, I'm going to go kill somebody,
Right.
Do you keep that because doctor-patient relationship? Or do you say, you know what, I truly believe this is going to happen. I'm going to save a life. And the same thing has to do with a minor making decisions, those types of decisions. The parents being involved, I think, is the right thing.
And women's right to choose.
We have to federally legislate women's reproductive rights, women's reproductive freedom. But it goes like this. My mother, she was one of the first black female anesthesiologists in the country. She lives with me here in Detroit. She's 86 years old. The fact that she would have more body autonomy and rights over her body than a 24-year-old staffer on my campaign is ridiculous. Not to mention the fact that there's no reason the government should be involved in decisions between a patient, their body, and a licensed medical provider.
What about viability limits?
Viability limits, I think that...
Speak the truth.
The fact is that I truly believe that someone should have autonomy over their body. And at the end of the day, that's their decision.
That's the answer. No, you don't have to...
Yeah.
Soft pedal it.
That's right.
The woman makes a choice. If it's 8 months, it's 8 months. Boom. That's where you're at. Parental notification.
Yes.
That's on that. Parental notification, that's a check for you in my book.
Yes.
Right?
Parental notification, yes.
You're not running from it.
No.
Karen?
You answered my question already. Now I know, but I'm listening. But I'm hearing you. I mean, on so many issues. Go ahead.
I was just saying the important thing is that I am also pragmatic from the standpoint of you cannot let perfection get in the way of progress from the standpoint of when people talk about coming up with common sense solutions to really big issues and problems. I mean, we know there's a massive issue with black maternal health and the problems there. There's a massive issue if you don't allow women's reproductive freedom, that poor people and people that do not have resources are in complete health jeopardy when it comes to this area and space, particularly younger, poorer women. And so we have to legislate the opportunity for people to make decisions over their body. And if someone says, okay, listen, I will get it done, I can get it done if we do a term and we figure out the term.
You answered it. You don't got to keep doing it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But let's do this. You're a United States Senator. Okay?
Yes.
You're on your way to a protest in Dearborn. Let's look at Gaza for a minute, okay?
Yes.
Now, Slotkin's record, she's on TV saying it, I was recruited for the CIA.
Yes.
Okay. I did 3 tours in Iraq. I did a tour in Iraq. Okay. Here's what we're going to look at. You were recruited with the CIA, the National Security Council, and the State Department, all, right, the intelligence community. She was there advising during Abu Ghraib,
yep,
during the siege of Fallujah, during the surge when we lost more soldiers than at any time, the pullout without leaving troops like we did in Afghanistan, that disastrous pullout, and then the rise of ISIS. All right. So her real record, me having lived it and looking, is 500,000 civilians are dead, and she won't talk about what she did in Gaza or in Iraq. In Iran, she was in charge of the Iran book. Iran in Iraq. We now know Iraq is a subsidiary of Iran. Supported the Iran nuclear deal. Okay. I want you to watch. What was it, about 2014, Mark? Yeah. Okay. She was nominated as the Assistant Secretary of Defense. She's being grilled by John McCain in committee whether they're going to vote to bring this to a vote. Let's take a listen there.
The administration attempted to negotiate with the Iraqi government, and at the time they thought they could handle the threats on their own, and they did not invite us in.
You know, that's just patently false, Ms. Slotkin, because I was in Baghdad when we talked to Maliki and they were ready. And we came back and asked your superiors, what is the force that we want to leave behind? In the words of Chairman Dempsey, 3,500 was the number agreed on, which was clearly, which was our final offer. We would not tell them the size of the force and what their mission would be. Now, those are facts because we were there on the ground. And so for you to sit there and say that we tried obviously contradicts three of the most respected people in America, Ambassador Crocker, Secretary Panetta, and Secretary Gates. So in all due respect to you, Ms. Slotkin, you either don't know the truth or you are not telling the truth to this committee. I have lots of additional questions for this witness, Mr. Chairman. I do not believe she is qualified. I believe that she has can't articulate a strategy for the defeat of ISIS, and I will have many additional questions. I see my time has expired.
Wow.
Now, she's taking a lot of money from AIPAC. Where does she stand in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict? I want you to ask her that. Where do you stand? And then I want you to make me the promise you'll ask her. Where do you stand on the United States support, military support for the Israelis in Gaza?
Well, I'm very proud to be one of the first U.S. Senate candidates in the country to call for ceasefire last year. You know, I took a meeting with a number of leaders in Dearborn and the Arab and Muslim community, from Osama Sablani to Assad Turfi to Dr. Abdul al-Sayed to Bill Bazi, Abdullah Hammoud. And it was very clear to me that the Democratic Party establishment and folks they felt that they had been stabbed in the back, and to see so many innocent civilians being killed in a space, and I want people to remember this. Gaza is the same size ostensibly as Detroit, about 148 square miles. And when every time you're walking out in our city, you look to the right, think about everything flattened that way. Look to the left, everything flattened, and then count people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're either injured or dead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And so it's a humanitarian crisis. And I lead with human rights. I always say there's no good war and there's no bad peace. And the fact that we are complicit in that because of a single funding body in this country. Now, do you blame AIPAC? No, AIPAC is actually doing what they believe is their charge because the system, Citizens
Israeli
United,
Political Action Committee,
allows it. Yes, the system allows it.
Okay, so people know. I'm
not
sure
taking any money from AIPAC.
You're not taking any money.
No corporate PAC money.
Has your opponent?
Yes.
How much?
AIPAC tracker says she's taken $600,000 in exposed money, and no one knows how much in dark.
Well, I think, if Dearborn, that's the national presentation. They got to win Dearborn. Well, that's not going to fly. I need you to ask about a record. Okay?
Yes.
Okay.
I will.
Finally, because you have to go. Let's get something Michigan-y. Because Senator deals internationally and with other states. We have the Great Lakes Water Compact.
That's right.
Okay, so we're dealing with Canada. We're dealing with the border states on the Great Lakes. Nestle Water currently is allowed to take 130 million gallons of water out of the Muskegon watershed.
That's right. They sold that to private equity, by the way. But yes,
for $200 a year.
Yeah. So
we like water here, and we like clean water. What are you going to do about it?
Okay, here's the deal. I'm the only candidate. Folks have to understand. There's only 5 people in the whole state of Michigan that's going to be the next U.S. senator. This is the first truly open U.S. Senate seat in almost 2.5 decades. And the fact that I'm the only candidate of the 5 that is called for shutdown of Line 5. There's been 31 breaches by it. I get threatened.
Water. Well, we did Line 5 in ad nauseum. What about the water? What do we do about poaching of our water?
First of all, 21% of the world's fresh surface water supply touches our shores. We're going to stop poaching the water, stop selling the water, stop aggregating it across the country, stop letting private equity literally bottle the water and ship it out.
And
That's
it's like the Michigan legislature is going to allow it. You're going to bring the consortium together to bottle it up. Thank you.
To bottle it up, to stop it. Why is this important? It's important because environmental justice requires clean air, clean water. We're seeing PFAS poisoning in our groundwater in Michigan. That's why I also oppose the expansion of Camp Grayling into the hunting preserve around it, one of the biggest PFAS polluters. That's a federal issue. And so the stuff that I'm overseeing, federal issue, an intercontinental issue like a Line 5 where Canada gets 80% of the benefit, we get 20%, and we actually are putting our Great Lakes in jeopardy. Enbridge already poisoned the Kalamazoo River in 2010. We can't let them poison our Great Lakes.
Let me help you, because you're an actor. Turning to politics. I'm a reporter who covers politics. It's simple. I support a ceasefire. I want to know the record of my opponent. I'm for the environment, and I'm for a woman's right to choose with parental notification.
I want to ask this question because you kind of, in terms of Dave Bing, who I had the pleasure of working for. Why politics? You said it's expensive, it's a dirty game, and we repeatedly see that people make promises that never come to fruition. Why politics as your next step? You left a successful show. Why politics?
Because people aren't represented and so many people are hurting, and they're hurting because they're not represented, particularly federally. There's so much money. And so much, there's 100 people in this country that control the distribution of $7.2 trillion annually. And the fact that there's an opportunity for Michiganders to be represented by an independent voice who can't be bought, can't be bossed, can't be bullied. That's me. I won't be bought, bossed, or bullied. I'll represent people first. And there's an opportunity for that to happen. And people deserve a voice at the table. If I'm elected to the U.S. Senate, I'll be the only active union member of the Senate. If I'm elected to the Senate, I'll be only one of two parents.
SAG after it? That doesn't count.
Elementary age. No. Let's be very clear.
Charlie.
32-year union member who was elected to the national board of my union, negotiated contracts for my union.
SAG
at the end
after?
of the AFL-CIO, baby.
There's a
So
difference.
let's
SAG
be.
after
let's-
made you pay for your own agent, and
SAG
they took
after
a bid.
and equity. SAG after and equity. So we got to be clear that when you're fighting for people and you're fighting for people first, that's what has to happen federally, and that's what we can do. We can get this done. Problem is, and also I'd be only one of a handful of small businesses. We don't need more career politicians in the U.S. Senate.
That's true.
We need more people with varied and diverse lived experience. They're going to fight for people first.
Now, Hill, let me wrap it up. When is this debate? Friday?
The conversation.
The
is
conversation
Friday.
without video.
Yeah.
It's Friday.
It's
what
Friday.
time?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. And what station?
HPR,
WHPR.
What on the dial? Where is that?
I don't know.
Can you get it by shortwave?
I think it's like, isn't it HD?
I'm going to live stream it. So come to my socials.
Go ahead. Tell
we're
them
gonna,
your
we're gonna,
social.
We're going to live stream.
Tell them your social.
Hill Harper. Just add Hill Harper on all the socials. And
So did they add somebody in terms of another person or another voice?
So a group of black women have demanded that a black woman be added, which I fully support, and particularly a journalist. There is no journalist. Your name was offered out there. Rhonda Walker, obviously many others.
Mine?
No, your name was definitely not Charlie. It definitely wasn't. Mildred Gaddis, though, was. How about that? So
it was a long list.
So it was a long list. And, Alicia Bell led that. And so I support that. And they're asking me to not participate in the debate if a black woman's not added. So we'll see when we get there if they did add somebody. Right now.
Are there white men?
But my thing
No.
is, my
There are no
thing
white
is-
men?
There's no white
No, I think
men.
Mark, are you angry
You
about
have,
this?
don't they have a pastor? That's
Bishop Edgar Van.
okay. But this is my thing.
Yeah.
She didn't participate in any of those other debates.
No.
I can only, and I imagine that she finagled this because it's comfortable and it's almost confidential.
Yes.
I wouldn't waste my time if you did not have the platform. I just don't see it being viable.
You got
It's
no
almost like a
choice. No,
setup.
It's a
gave him
farce.
$8 million for
It's a
TV
farce,
commercial.
exactly.
Hey, did your mom have health insurance when you were growing up?
Yes, she did.
Yeah, that man.
So he
I
can't
believe
do that.
it's like Whitmer and Slotkin, like both rich kids. Like your mom didn't have health insurance. I didn't raise it. You did. So we're gonna, Madam Slotkin, that chair is always there for you. Okay. Hill Harper.
Charlie, thank
Good luck.
you.
Good luck.
Appreciate you.
Primaries
Karen,
August
thank
6th. Vote and vote often. See ya.
No, vote early. July 27th to August 4th is early voting.
Vote early
Bring
and
people
vote on
with you.
election day.
Bring people with you to the polls. Bring people with you to the polls.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
So long.